Hasan Piker has been getting in a lot of hot water recently. Destiny's been going hard on him as a result of his takes on the conflict in Gaza. Willie Mac Show has also released 3 videos debunking him recently with facts and logic over his coverage of breaking news stories, which Willie basically was able to prove Hasan does a very bad job of covering. Things are not looking good for Hasan. He's actually losing a lot of viewers right now. And now I think we have the true answer to the state of the Leftovers podcast with Ethan Klein, which is that it's officially over. It's not happening anymore.
People are saying rip Leftovers. Yeah, probably. Just to be honest.
I think we all knew this was coming. After the arguing between Ethan and Hasan on the show itself about topics like capitalism versus communism, after arguments about the war itself more recently, and seeing how Ethan's community absolutely freaked out as soon as they found out he was not an avowed communist, it's not a shock that the sort of tension between Hasan's community and Ethan's community has mounted in a decision to basically end the podcast. It's hard to say if Ethan and Hasan are friends anymore. I don't care that much, but I would speculate they're probably not super friendly right now. Please do not take these political conversations personally. Being called a class traitor 1,000 times because I'm only a social democrat and not a full socialist makes me not want to have combos like this anymore, which is probably the least productive outcome. And I mean, in a way, I do feel bad for Ethan, but at the same time, he specifically courted this audience of fucking freaks. You a freaky ass who will basically demand that you're a communist at any given point in time. And if you espouse one, and I do mean one opinion, that does not fall into the current Twitter zeitgeist of acceptable beliefs, they will smite you for it. They will try to cancel you. And it's not even just like a basic disagreement. It's not like a fake cancellation where it's like, I don't like what this guy says, but I still will watch his stuff. It's more like, this guy doesn't deserve a platform anymore. When you hear people say, this guy doesn't deserve a platform anymore, you know the kinds of people you're dealing with, and these are not the kind of audience that you want to have on your side at all. They're not really on your side. They're just there to hear you repeat their beliefs back to them over video. That's what they want. They want to be validated. They don't want to be intellectually challenged at all. Part of the reason that I was so pissy when Ethan said he was fine with Leafy being banned, apart from the obvious like censorship is good take, which it's not, is that his audience would just as quickly turn on him if given the chance as he did on other people. Ethan was not being a very principled person. He's like okay with certain people being banned and not others being banned. And meanwhile, like he'll be like, well, I didn't encourage him to be banned. And it's like, yes, you did. Yes, you absolutely did, bro.
Leafy's come for me. He called me a piggy a bunch of times.
Yeah, well, won't be doing it now.
He's banned.
All right, drum roll. Account ban of the year 2020 is Leafy. Leafy, who lost it all. He was banned on YouTube and Twitch.
So that's his livelihood. That's
he's pretty much, yeah, he's like Alex Jones. Like, see ya. Congratulations, Leafy. We'll definitely be getting you an award. Best Band Creator of 2020. You may not have any accounts, but you will have this award. So what do you call it when you are celebrating the removal of someone from Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and every platform? What do you call that?
Deplatforming.
That's what it's called. It's called deplatforming. Also, I would like to note that he is celebrating. He is groveling in his victory, yes.
And this is something people warned him about. Even Jordan Peterson could see this coming from a mile away and knew it was going to happen. For context, Ethan had Jordan Peterson on his podcast a few times back in the day, like when he started the H3 podcast, which was like 2017, 18, 19, those years. He had him on a few times, and he clearly knew what Jordan was all about. They were having pretty deep conversations, I would say. Surprisingly deep for the H3 podcast. But when he started getting shit from his audience over having him on more recently because of this whole like political switch up he did, Ethan decided to remove the podcast, apologize for even having him on, and then decided to go in this other direction entirely. Ethan Klein removed both his interviews with Jordan Peterson. Lamau, man, the right-wingers are going to be so triggered. Oh, the triggered right-wingers, oh my god. Boy, do I love that. Don't you understand at all what you're participating in? Don't you think this could happen to you and those you value? How can you be so sure that the pendulum won't swing your way? It has before, you know, and when it does again, remember your words and repent. The way Jordan says this is very corny because, I mean, he's an old man, and even beyond that, he's like kind of a corny, dramatic dude in general. I think there's no denying that.
What was it that I said that caused such a fuss?
But pushing past that, the point he's communicating here is that Ethan does not have to agree with him anymore. He can criticize Jordan, he can shit on him, he can say he's wrong or whatever, but to remove that part of history entirely because Jordan doesn't represent everything you agree with in the current day is ridiculous. If Jordan was running some kind of cartel or trafficking ring, I think it would be pretty fair if you want, you know, that stuff down, or if he was calling for violence explicitly. I mean, that's like a more realistic quote-unquote outcome, right, for like a public figure that's in politics. I would understand maybe more taking it down at that point, but considering that literally literally all he did was come on Ethan's podcast and talk about cultural Marxism in colleges, I feel like it's not that big of a deal. And by the way, I was surprised how real the cultural Marxism thing was when I went to college. I didn't think it was real. I thought it was just a meme. You know, I heard like Jordan Peterson and Joe Rogan talk about it, and I was like, that's not real. Not every college is full of communists. I don't know about every college, but the college I went to had a decent amount of them actually. When I was in class and I was supposed to be learning, I think it was like music history class in this one specific instance, which I don't even know why I had that class because I was not going for anything related to music, but that's a whole other conversation about how like 30 to 40% of colleges are a fucking scam. But I was in class when I was supposed to be learning about that, and it was weird to me because my professor was literally talking to everyone about the pros of living in a communist country when I was supposed to be learning about like R&B or like blues. And it was like, are you sure that we need to be hearing this? And are you actually sure that like communism is something you need to be supporting right now? Are we supposed to be learning something new? Aren't I paying to be here for this? Like, I'm fine with those ideas being explored. I don't think they're necessarily worthwhile, but I think any idea can be discussed. But like, I'm in college to learn something. I'm paying to be there. I should not be being told about how like cultural Marxism is good. That's not what I'm paying to learn. I'm paying to learn about like video production. So when Ethan decided to disavow Jordan, here's what he said. He said, years ago, I interviewed Jordan Peterson before I was very familiar with his politics. He was an interesting guest who I enjoyed sitting with, but especially now I can see he's a dangerous gateway to the alt-right, transphobia, and COVID misinfo. I removed both interviews today. Yeah, bro, you really don't know his politics. You just had no idea. There was no way to know what his politics were at that time. It's not like he was a political guy. Like, you do realize, like, this is so fake. Jordan's entire thing is politics. That is what he talks about. I mean, he talks about philosophy and psychology too, of course, but it's always been intertwined with politics and like being, you know, anti-SJW. And they talked about that on the podcast itself. And so Ethan can't really claim ignorance here.
I was surrounded by trans activists, I think is a reasonable way to talk about them. Although
Is this it here?
That's it.
I've got you.
Yeah, that's
I
it
wanted to ask
exactly.
you about this one too.
That
yeah.
one.
Yeah, well, okay. So what happened was that was
Here,
at that.
shall I play it?
Sure,
The
sure,
audience
sure, yeah.
And the Nazi presence at your protest. The presence of Nazi white supremacists assaulting people at your protest. Do you have any comment on that?
Yeah, I don't like Nazis.
Then
Why were they here?
Well, how can I answer
are there views in alignment with yours?
At some point, you
I
have to
think that's a
realize.
foolish question. Look, if you want to know what my views are,
I've watched all of your videos. Yes.
I love that. It's like you clearly. I doubt even your biggest fans haven't watched all your videos.
Yes, I have.
then why would you ask such a question?
Because this is my interpretation of your videos.
Apparently,
That's
I
not-
wanted.
All of the people who arranged the protest against you watched all of your videos.
It's like, do you want to
I have
disavow?
150 videos on YouTube.
No.
And now, within a matter of a few years, when Jordan has changed a little bit with the whole getting addicted to benzos thing, and he has ramped up the political rhetoric a little bit, Ethan, instead of like treating him like a real guy, is calling him an insane person every single day. Like, you know this guy. You talked to him multiple times for like hours. You guys were friendly. Why don't you just like try to talk to him again? Like, just argue with him on your podcast. And if he says he doesn't want to, then he looks like a coward. But if he does, then at least there's a good conversation there, you know? It would probably be good content as opposed to you just like reacting to him, calling him a crazy person. You guys could actually have like a real conversation instead of shitting on him from behind a computer screen. But that seems to be all Ethan is interested in nowadays. He doesn't actually want to make content about like really anything. And then Ethan tries to pretend that he has no idea what that tweet from Jordan Peterson meant on his show. He's like, Jordan Peterson thinks he like predicted this? Well, nothing happened to me. I'm fine.
This that I hear all the time, Jordan Peterson's prophetic tweet about just you wait, Ethan, they're going to come for you next.
The mob.
And so, again, I'm not sure what canceled means anymore because, I mean, you could characterize it as people disagreeing with me and getting upset, but I don't know what you mean by canceled because I'm still standing.
Well, to me, it's pretty obvious what he's talking about here. Ethan, you've spent the last few years moving into this space of the left-wing, breadtube adjacent part of the internet, where people attempt to cancel others on the basis of them being politically opposed to them, rather than them actually being wrong about something, rather than there being like a real point. It's really all ad hominem for people like Hasan Piker. And this happens with right-wingers as well, by the way. This happens, you know, on the far right. Even I'm sure Brett Cooper has done this before. But it's just not as pervasive in this particular like YouTube drama type space as the left-wing guys are. So obviously they're being talked about more right now. Take, for example, when Ethan tried to cancel Fresh and Fit. And I don't use that word lightly either. He tried to make them look like rapists. Basically, this girl came onto the H3 podcast to talk about the time she met the Fresh and Fit guys. I believe she went to Myron's apartment. And the entire time, Ethan was basically trying to get her to say that she was traumatized by these dudes, when in reality, they just didn't buy her an Uber home after she came to their place and didn't want to have sex with them, which is like, are you obligated to buy anyone an Uber home? Like, you went to like a stranger's apartment at nighttime and like now you're leaving. He didn't like do anything bad to you. He just was like, buy her own Uber. Bitch.
I think so, but wait, leaving with Walter, right? Leaving now, yes. Leave now. What are you doing 1 minute away? I'm getting my Uber. 3 minutes away. Bro, Byron's a fucking piece of shit. Home. Need me to come down and wait. Now I'm getting my Uber. Blah, blah, blah. Yes, please, Kay. Bro, I want to cry. I'm coming. We'll talk. I'm coming down the block. I hate to say it. I don't want to make you feel some type of way, but that was super that's crazy.
The best part is the day after. This is the best
wait,
part of the
there's
whole
more?
story. Yeah, and wait, there's more. So,
And remember, remember, this is a 35-year-old man who's stranded this 19-year-old girl in his apartment.
No one is stranded, Ethan. Literally nobody is stranded. I don't know what you think stranded means. Nobody is stranded right now. Who's stranded?
Trying to get her drunk all night.
He doesn't have to try to get her drunk all night. Her producers offered one drink for the thing, which I think was on a different day, wasn't it? It wasn't even the same day, was it? Or was it the same? It might have been the same night. But like that wasn't her offering earlier. And she was drinking on her own at the club, bro. And she found the White Claw and asked for the White Claw on her own, bro. What are you talking about? What do you mean? How is he trying to get her drunk? She's doing it all herself over and over and over again.
Jumping on top of her and then making her give.
Jumping on top of her? Bro, she sat on the bed and then got closer when he asked. What the fuck?
And this was like an hour-long interview where Ethan was trying desperately to get this girl to say she was assaulted, when the reality is that the opposite happened. She didn't even have sex with these guys. And I don't like Fresh and Fit, keep in mind, and they don't give that same charitability to other people as well. Many of you will probably remember when Fresh and Fit tried to file false DMCA takedowns on a number of people who criticized them, and it wasn't for copyright infringement. I mean, that's not, the real reason they did it. It's because they made fun of Fresh and Fit. They shit on them, and Fresh and Fit is like, they're just insecure people. And when asked about it, Myron just danced around the topic because he knows he cannot defend that. He knows he was in the wrong, and he knows that he abused the copyright privileges he has and legal avenues he has to take down critical videos about him that did not deserve to be taken down.
It is what it is. We don't have any animosity towards these guys. It's just like, hey man, we don't attack anyone else. We don't make hit pieces on anyone else. Anything that was put up was taken down out of respect to those other content creators, and for people to continue making content on us negatively for months on end. It's just like at some point, so you got to defend yourself, right?
You do attack people. You do make hit pieces on people. Just stop lying. What is this lying? Like, I'm all about positivity. Dude, you shit on people every day. You go after Ethan Klein every week. And even beyond that, this is wildly hypocritical considering that these dudes have become like the free speech warriors in the past few years. But no matter the target, the tactics you use are absolutely important. It really matters. You should not be making false allegations against someone just because they're politically opposed to you or cringe, right? If you do, and you realize it was an accident, you need to apologize and correct the record. But in Ethan's case, it seems like he was trying really to stretch things as much as possible to make these guys look bad and to make this girl say that she was like used or abused in some way. When in reality, nothing happened.
I order my own Uber, and I'm walking out, and I'm like, oh, my Uber's coming. Like, can you walk me downstairs? Because I didn't know how to work this building. So he walks me to the elevator, pushes the button, and walks away.
That's fine. That's all you need, motherfucker. What, do you expect him to hold your fucking hand? What are you thinking? Bro, where is your mind at?
And the fact this girl even went on this show in the first place, when the pinnacle of her story is that she went somewhere alone with this guy, she wasn't interested in him, and then like she left. Like, that's her story. This girl is a clout goblin. And a lot of people are these days, so be careful, boys and girls, okay? You don't want to get yourself in a bad situation. Be proactive. Before you know it, some random person might be on the H3 podcast with Ethan trying to walk the line between calling you a graper and not calling you a graper. Give me the grape juice. And this kind of behavior is what pisses people off about Ethan so much these days. While I'm glad he and Hasan seem to not be working together anymore in terms of like the audience becoming less insane, at the same time, Ethan pandered to these people for years. And now when he's getting a little bit of backlash, okay, a lot of backlash, but he's shying away from them. He's saying like, these people are crazy. It's like, dude, this is your fan base. This is who you've been courting for the last few years. Like, what do you expect? And the thing is with these political audiences, I mean, they can be super enticing because you just say the right things and then you'll immediately have like an entire demographic of people who are predisposed to like you because they're invested in, politics. This culture war stuff is like super profitable for those who, push it and are involved. Ethan got to grow his channel, the H3 podcast channel with leftovers, just based on having the right take for a while and like, having the right thing to say rather than making good content. He had his own little piece of the left-wing internet pie carved out for himself. But now that he's putting the pounds on, metaphorically speaking, of course, because I think he's actually lost some weight, which is, good for you, Ethan. Good job, bro. Keep doing that. But now he has a problem now that he's putting on the internet wear and tear, right? You don't get to have your cake and eat it too, though, with these people. Like, it just doesn't happen. And it's honestly only a matter of time before the only viewers Hasan has left are people who are there for when he laughs about cops dying. Anyone normal is going to turn away when they see the continuous misinformation this guy spreads. And the Leftovers fans are still in complete and utter pain about this, by the way. Like, they're really suffering. They're like, I just wanted to come back. I get there was some unhinged comments coming from his community, but there was also legit criticism as well. And you know what happened to them? They would get banned from this subreddit or banned from chat. Look at what happened with the Whitney episode. I mean, we can't even criticize Ethan without being accused of brigading for another streamer. I love Hasan and Ethan, but I don't always agree with every stance they have. I'm so disappointed in how all this was handled. I'm really gonna miss Leftovers. But comments like this are completely missing the point. It's not just the community. Sure, that was a big part of it, considering the insane people were saying about Ethan, which I think he has a harder time dealing with than others. Honestly, I think his tolerance for that kind of stuff compared to other YouTubers is relatively low, probably.
I guess maybe I'm crazy. Maybe I am genocidal against Palestinians for caring about this stuff. I must be.
I remember there was this old episode of the H3 podcast. I can't remember which one for the life of me, but this is real. This is a real thing. Where Ethan said there was a time when his mental health was really bad, and he would read every single comment he got on his videos. Almost like a form of self-harm, where he would read all the nice ones just to find the one negative one, and then he would like fixate on that, and it would ruin his day. And so I would speculate he probably has a harder time dealing with this stuff than other people in his position do. And then beyond that, there were several conversations Ethan and Hasan had on stream, where Hasan would just refuse to really call out his audience for absolutely trashing Ethan. I think Ethan felt like Hasan was being a bad friend, really, and now the peak of this conflict has been various clips of Ethan saying that Leftovers is just over forever, and there's really no way it could go forward. Meanwhile, on the Destiny subreddit, they're just calling H3 fans insane people. I swear, all of them think they're analytical geniuses who know your every move. I've had a ton of debates over the years, but they far seem to be the most insufferable. They either gaslight you by misunderstanding your points, or insult you if they believe you're the villain. Hell, I can't have a civil conversation without them believing they have the moral high ground. And of course, it's not all the fans, but most of the ones I've talked to seem to be crazy. Honestly, I think the average H3 fan is not insane. The very vocal ones are, though. But there's just too many of them for the average person watching to be anything more than a casual viewer. But there is this insane demographic within this larger audience, this like smaller sort of kernel around the corn, if you will, that is genuinely nuts. And Ethan is now trying to shed these people from his audience. And I encourage that. It makes sense. But the reason this happened is because he pandered to those people, you know, intentionally or unintentionally. I think part of it was intentionally for sure, though. Even if he agrees with them, I think there was partially a cynical, calculated move there. Maybe just less extreme than someone like Sneeko, who completely went off the deep end just for his grift. I mean, we all know I have a few insane members of my audience that I need to shed. You people are actually freaks. I'm not even kidding. I love you. But it's a good move in terms of long-term success for Ethan to do this. Meanwhile, I think Hasan is honestly on the decline. His viewers are good, don't get me wrong, like relatively speaking to other streamers, but he's losing a lot of viewers. It's not as good as you would think. He's been on a decline of viewership really since the pandemic. He currently has 19,000 subs on Twitch, but as we can see, he lost 5,700 subs in the last 30 days alone. That is a giant decrease in subscriptions, and that's like 20% of his subscribers in general. That means less loyal fans, that means less money, and it means that his community, the amount of people he can like send to other people's streams to with them, or the amount of crazy people online is sort of diminished, right? We're gonna get smaller and smaller with this group of people. And I didn't think his audience would even care about this current drama. I honestly thought every Hasan viewer was like relatively brain dead. I thought they were completely dug in on his side and unwilling to change their opinion, but it seems like I was kind of wrong, because a lot of them are up and leaving, and I can't imagine this for anything other than what's been going on recently with this stuff, with the misinformation, with him being called out by Destiny, by Willie Mac Show. Regardless of the facts of the situation or his poor coverage of the war, it seems like a lot of them are not cool with how he's acting directly because of that. Meanwhile, Willie Mac Show was like the voice of the people right now, apparently, which I didn't see coming, honestly, but good for him. Love that guy. He's getting hundreds of thousands of hits easily off of criticizing Hasan.
Hasan has been misreporting stories going on 2 years now, and his Twitch audience has been dwindling because of it. And due to his demonization of other people for having different points of view, he lost his biggest avenue to new viewers, being the Leftover podcast. He's now had so many streamers and YouTubers laugh at his poor coverage that his number is only going to keep dropping.
If Hasan changes his behavior, then things could definitely, you know, change maybe. I think it would be unlikely, though, that frenemies would come back unless Hasan apologizes outright to Ethan, which I think he probably has too much pride for that to do, to be honest. But we could be looking at a comeback for Ethan. Meanwhile, for Hasan, I don't think these people are going to go back to his channel anytime soon. I think he lost their goodwill. He's probably not going to get it back, and it seems like those viewers are going over to Destiny right now, which, I mean, maybe that's the way things should have always been, you know, because Destiny's the GOAT. I think Hasan will probably go back to being like a mid-sized to like low-tier streamer, getting a few thousand viewers live rather than regularly being at the top of Twitch and absolutely setting records with like 30, 40, 50, 60, 70,000 viewers live. I think those days are over for him for the most part, apart from maybe special events like elections. I don't think he's going to get those crazy numbers at all. That time is over. He rode the grift all the way to the top, and now he's you know, suffering from the consequences of his actions. Sucks to suck, I guess. For you. If you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like. If you disliked it, leave a dislike and drop a comment down below letting me know your thoughts on all of this. It's always good to hear what you guys have to say. I appreciate the support on videos lately very much. You guys rock. You're you're making things happen for me, which I really appreciate. And keep in mind, the Reddit debate bro army loves you, Hasan, and respects you and thinks you're a great guy. Anyway, see you all tomorrow. Bye. And be sure to become a member. For $5 a month, they get the members only podcasts and exclusive videos that only members get. Thanks so much for your support.
No